is set to roll over those sanctions, but not ready to add any new ones. So there haven't been any new sanctions actually since last September. Ukraine says the separatists and the Russians are mounting an assault now because they're planning to freeze this conflict and they want to control as much territory as they can before that happens.
And now President Putin is scheduled for a visit with Pope Francis next week. Any idea what might come out of that meeting?
Well, so far, President Putin doesn't seem to be changing his tune. He gave an interview to an Italian newspaper this week in which he said Russia was not responsible for the deterioration in relations with the EU states. He portrayed Russia as the victim of sanctions, and he said Kiev is to blame for stalling on the peace talks in eastern Ukraine. What he didn't mention was that those sanctions, of course, were put in place after Russia seized Crimea from Ukraine and promoted a rebellion in the eastern provinces.
Has Putin had any conciliatory words?
He did say that Europe doesn't need to fear Russia and that it would be insane, in his words, to imagine Russia would attack NATO. And he also said Russia, quote, never viewed Europe as a mistress. It wanted a serious relationship. But now Putin says he has the impression that Europe's been trying to establish material-based relations with Russia and solely for its own gain. So he sounds a little bit like a jilted lover there. It'll be interesting to see what the Europeans make of that mistress metaphor.
NPR's Corey Flintoff. Corey, thanks very much.
Thank you.
For half a decade, General Electric has been paying for a massive dredging operation to remove toxic PCBs from the upper Hudson River in New York. The billion-dollar cleanup sparked fierce controversy when it was proposed. But as the project enters its final summer, it's been so successful that even some of the cleanup's most vocal critics want it expanded. North County Public Radio's Brian Mann reports.
Just offshore in Mechanicsville, 3 hours north of New York City, barges shuttle back and forth across the Champlain Canal, a waterway linked to the Hudson River. Garrett Kowinski with the EPA points to a backhoe that's digging up great gobs of PCB-contaminated muck.
The good news is we're finishing the dredging, and then we anticipate over a decade or decades that the fish advisories will begin to be reduced.
PCBs were once a key ingredient in GE's manufacturing of electrical components, but the substance has been linked to cancer in animals, and studies have shown severe impacts on wildlife. PCBs were banned in the 1970s, but not before GE poured tons of it here in these waterways. As a result, people are warned against swimming and eating the fish. The Hudson became a symbol for sick and polluted rivers nationwide. Still, when the cleanup was first proposed, it was surprisingly controversial. With ads like this one, GE convinced a lot of locals in places like Mechanicsville that dredging would do more harm than good.
These wonderful moments.